Maybe I'm overthinking this, but with Nico being able to figure out what people's weapons are and then shut them down in the first selection, and Kuon betraying Team Z in said first selection, did Kuon feed Nico information, or did Nico actually just read them? Because Nico's able to come up with plans to destroy Kunagami's weapon, Bachira's weapon, Naruhaya's weapon. Maybe it was just Nico reading all the players on Team Z, but I don't think it's insane to say that Kuon fed him some information. That was supposed to be a short intro, and we're not even talking about Kuon or Nico. Today's Yap session is about Itoshi Sai. Because there was something I was thinking about with Sai and like this little ice cream interaction. Sai was never supposed to be a striker. Because strikers are people that can sense and then react to or create their own look, right? But when we go back to Sai and Rin as kids, Rin wins a prize with his ice cream and Sai doesn't. And then Sai says somebody who'd waste their luck on stupid stuff like this couldn't become the best in the world. But we know that luck isn't a resource that you go out and actively use. It's something you create, react to, or sense. You can't use up all of your luck, if that makes sense. In the Blue Lock universe, at least. Because when we flash forward, Rin wins again and Sai also loses. So this is kind of the second time that Rin has instinctively sensed out luck, I guess. Because Rin had to pick out that ice cream for him to eat it, right? I don't know how buying ice cream in Japan works, but I assume you go to a shop, you pick it out of the freezer. And the ones that Sai picks aren't lucky. The ones that Rin picks are lucky. But we know now that luck falls into three separate categories. We've got the luck you create for yourself, like Isagi did for his first goal in the Ubers game. We've got luck that you can sense, which I would say Shido's weapon is. He can sense luck in the penalty area. I know, insane Shido sneak. And then you've also got responding to luck, which I would categorize as Isagi's final goal in the PXG game. Because Isagi wasn't lucky in the sense that the ball fell to him, it fell to Ness, and he responded to that luck that Ness got of the ball falling to him, if that makes sense. So, maybe with these little interactions here, I know that we obviously know that he's not going to be a striker, but maybe this is just driving it home. But we're going to be playing really fast and loose with our topics about Sai today because I don't really have one single thing I want to say about him. There's kind of just a lot of things. Because another thing I want to say is that Sai might be playing for Blue Lock in the U20 World Cup, just because there is a seat missing here, and it feels so intentional. Like, I obviously know that the IRL rules with football is that you're only allowed to take 23 people, but we are forgetting this is a fiction manga, so if they want to change a rule, they can just do that. Like, obviously, I know we're going for realism, but they can just change a rule if they want to. Because with this seat being empty, obviously it's empty because Ren's a fucking emo and nobody wants to sit next to him, but it feels way too purposeful and obvious that somebody's supposed to be sat there. Because it's the space next to Rin as well, so it just feels kind of obvious. Because another thing that could kind of back this up is maybe what Burutsuta and Ego was talking about. Because they're having this discussion and then Burutsuita's like, bring Nagi back, he's a cash cow, he's gonna bring in so much money. But then Ego says, I'm not picking Nagi, as for me, and then it cuts off there. So with Burutsuta claiming that Nagi is a cash cow and then Ego saying that he's not going to pick him, and then as for him, and then with him getting cut off, it seems like he's about to say something about that final pick. It doesn't stick so much because Burutsuta says you need to redo the selection, so that means that there wasn't that 24th place. But it seems like Ego was going to say, as for me, I would rather have Sai. Because even though Sai is, like, skill-wise better than Nagi, Nagi is still a cash cow bigger than what Sai is, probably. So we can all agree that Sai is obviously the better player out of the two of them, but with Nagi scoring the 5-stage volley and that going down as one of the best goals in the century in universe, people might just be more interested in Nagi at the moment because he's an up-and-coming player, he scored that goal, and he got kicked out of the NEL. So, skill-wise, he might not be on Sai's level, but the controversy surrounding him definitely makes him more of a cash cow. And with this panel, could you not have just put, like, 3 bus seats at the back and then just put 3 people sat on them next to each other? Like, I know that this gives us more personality for Rin, I guess, because nobody wants to sit next to him. Maybe it's just me, but doing it this way, it seems like it's definitely a hint that somebody's going to join them in the future. Because if you've actually been on a coach, you'll know that these back seats are always just connected together. There's no gap here. Because let's say that there was the 3 seats, you got like Shido sat here, Zantetsu sat in the middle, and then Rin sat in this empty space, and then that one and that one's empty. That one seems fair, that seems fine. That makes sense for it being 23 players and staying at 23 players. But with this one seat, it genuinely fucks with me so much because why? Literally why? But with this, it seems like it's definitely a sign that Nagi's either going to come back before the World Cup starts or Sai's going to play for Japan when the World Cup starts. But, like, over analyzing it being the space next to Rin seems like it's going to be Sai. Maybe it's just me. Because the arc before the NEL was the U20 match, and then Sai at the end of that match said he was interested in Isugi, right? And then with Rin and Isugi matching bids and then being declared the best in Blue Lock at the moment, is that not going to pique Sai's interest? Because with Rin matching Isugi's bid and Isugi matching Rin's bid, it's kind of good for both of them in Sai's eyes. So like with Isugi, for example, before the U20 match starts, Isugi was not part of the top 6. And the only reason why Isugi was actually able to play in the U20 match was because he was able to solidify and coexist with Rin on the field. And that's going to be really good in Sai's eyes because Sai used to like playing with Rin because of the instinctive playstyle that Rin had when it came to sensing goals. So then for Isugi, a person who he was interested in, to then go from kind of being pretty mid to matching Rin's bid after Rin improves, that's going to make Sai more interested in Isugi. And then on the counter side, because Sai doesn't actually hate Rin matching Isugi's bid could then make it so Sai's interested in Rin because he's actually growing as a striker now. Because Sai said to Rin when he first came back from Spain, "What have you been doing this entire time that I've been gone?" Obviously, he might be exaggerating it, but from that one statement, it doesn't seem like Rin has evolved or changed his playstyle because Sai points it out. So then, with Rin finally changing and evolving his playstyle because of Isugi, he might be interested in Rin again now. Because Sai was interested in Rin in that U20 game as well. When Rin starts to stick his tongue out and awaken his Berserker Eye, Sai says, "Oh, you've still got that in you." So I think that Sai was purposefully putting Rin in that restricted environment so he would evolve because he was still interested. He saw the potential in Rin's playstyle. He saw the potential in his little brother. But then with Sai being confirmed or kind of confirmed to have Metavision, yes, he is confirmed to have Metavision. Isugi literally kind of quotes it when he's learning Metavision in the Manshine game. But anyway, with Sai having Metavision, that would then put him as a talented learner. And for other reasons, he's obviously a talented learner. Because that's kind of one of the reasons why I also want to say that Sai was being as mean as he was to Sendao, because he was trying to put Sendao in that restricted environment because he knew that Sendao was a restricted egoist. Because I also think that Sendao is a restricted type because he plays for Ubers, and again, Ubers is restricted everywhere else on the field apart from the striker. Because in this game, I'm not going to be biased, there are times that my GOAT also fucks up with his shots. But we don't see Sai having any sort of reaction when Shido takes an obviously bad shot when Rayo's blocking him. So what's the difference between Sendao and Shido? Obviously, Shido can score, but Sai doesn't strike me as the person to let somebody off the hook just because they scored one goal and then fucked up another one. Like, it's kind of confusing because he does and he doesn't, right? If Sendao did score a goal, he probably would have shut up about the ones that he fucked up. But with Shido showing he can consistently score goals and then he does fuck up sometimes, I feel like he would or should be pressuring Shido than he should be Sendao. And this is crazy, right? Because I'm talking about my GOAT here, and I'm questioning why Sai didn't say anything to him for his fuck-ups. I think the answer's fairly simple. Sai didn't say anything to Shido for his fuck-ups because he knows that Shido is a freedom egoist. As soon as Sai starts to put on pressure or requirements for Shido to do a certain thing, he knows he's not going to be able to do it. Not because he's bad, just because it literally doesn't match the environment that Shido thrives in. So then that's why I think that he was being purposefully more mean to Sendao because Sendao was actually a restricted ego type. Because I'm also convinced that this interaction right here was also intentional from Sai's part. Because let's say hypothetically, Sai knows that Rin is a restricted ego type. Him saying that Isugi might just be able to change like Japan's football style is him trying to put Rin in a restricted environment. Because the two ways that Sai either carries himself is that he knows that Rin is a restricted ego type and that's why he does this, or he's autistic as fuck and doesn't even realize that this is going to upset Rin. Because I'm not going to lie, some of the evidence saying that he's going to die is just him seeming autistic, in my opinion. Like, one of the pieces of evidence is that he's precious with his time and he was going to leave this match halfway through. I'm not going to lie, I'm not trying to project. Leaving halfway through a match because your team is fucking useless is something I would do. You've seen what you need to see. Why do I need to play the rest of the match? It's not me trying to be precious with my time because I'm going to die. It's me being precious with my time because I like my fucking time. But this interaction here, 1000% seems intentional from Sai's perspective. Because he's saying this about Isugi because when Rin was left in Japan by himself, Sai said that he wasn't improving enough and he was just looking for a replacement, but nobody can replace Sai. So then, it's actually really funny when you think about it because Sai's saying that nobody could replace him to Rin, right? But then later on in the PXG game, Rin metaphorically replaces Sai's position with Isugi. So then, to a degree, Rin has found a replacement for Sai. It was Isugi. And I think part of the reason why Rin accepted that Isugi was on Sai's level was from this statement from Sai. Because Sai thought that Isugi was good enough and had the potential enough to still change Japan after the U20 game. So with Isugi leveling up in the NEL and Sai saying this about him, it seems like Rin accepted that Isugi had the potential to be on Sai's level. Because if you go back and reread the entire game, I would say that Isugi obviously a really good player, really good player, but he's not on Sai's level just yet. It was only after Isugi was able to read Rin's movements, because remember, he ran into him just before he did the crash shoot. So Rin seeing that Isugi can read Rin in Destroyer mode, and then Sai also reading Rin in Destroyer mode would then put them both on the same level. At least in Rin's eyes, right? Like, Sai's obviously better, but mentally, potential-wise, they're in the same boat. Does that make sense? Am I making any sense here? But with this interaction, there's only really two options here. Sai knows that Rin is restrictive and is actively trying to restrict him more so he evolves. Or Sai's autistic as fuck and didn't realize that this sentence would have pissed Rin off. I'm not even saying that to be inclusive. You know what, actually, let me have a tangent, right? When I push that characters are potentially gay or like fucking autistic or something like that, I'm not saying that because I want to appeal to a wider audience and I want to make more money and get more views. Because, to be quite frank, I don't give a fuck about any of that. If I am talking about a certain subject, whether you like it or not, I think there is an element of truth to it. Or that perspective can elevate how you see and perceive the story. I don't try to be inclusive for the sake of being inclusive, because I find that shit fucking annoying when we're projecting problems onto characters that they genuinely just don't have. But when I talk about Sai being autistic or Nagi and Rayo being the example of a relationship leveling up, I'm not talking about that because I'm trying to appeal to more people or be inclusive for the sake of being inclusive. That shit's fucking stupid and annoying. I'm talking about it because I see some value in it. I'm not going to sit here and push half-baked theories to you guys because I want to pander to a bigger audience. That shit's fucking stupid. I'm doing this shit out of passion. When I talk about shit like this and it seems like a headcanon or it seems like a reach, it probably is, but I'm only doing it in pursuit of elevating the story. Because I used to be a consumer, so when I would watch somebody make a video on something that they don't even believe in themselves just to pander to a bigger audience, I fucking hated that shit. So now with me being a creator, I refuse to do shit like that. I'll either make a video to elaborate on the take if I think there's value in it, but if I don't think there's actual value in it and I just like it personally, I'll just comment on it. I won't make a video about it. This channel is supposed to be unbiased, no bias. I know it can be confusing because I do talk shit about some characters and then only say nice things about other characters, but this channel's actually unbiased. The people that I shit on are either restricted ego types, so I like to shit on them because I like to hypothetically think I'm going to make them better, or I talk shit about them because they're overhyped and the fans are annoying as fuck. Because, truth be told, I love every single character that survived the NEL, and Nagi. I make jokes about Nagi, but when it comes to it, I actually love Nagi as a character because I relate to him quite a lot. Not because I think I've got the genius parts of his character, I just know that I'm a lazy character and sometimes it's hard for me to get motivated. It's just that in this moment in time, he can't and shouldn't come back into the Blue Lock program. So for now, the people that talk shit about Nagi are actually right. But we've gone like way too far away from the subject we should be actually talking about. Just to kind of go back to Sai playing for Japan in the U20 World Cup, it does kind of make sense when you think about it. I know that people's first argument for Sai not playing for Japan is the fact that Hiori exists. But when you think about it, they could just play together, no? Because I also assume that Sai is a holistic freedom ego type. So then, just to kind of like paint the scene of what the fuck would go on if they were both playing at the same time. Imagine they're playing against a really difficult team or whatever. Hiori's got the ball. He's looking to see where Isagi's running to or what he's planning on doing. So then kind of as he's watching and trying to figure out what Isagi's doing, he'll be saying something along the lines of, yes, just run up the field, you stupid fuck. Leave all the hard work to me and Sai. We will organize the midfield. Or like something along those lines. And then we could get panels of Sai passing the ball to Hiori and Hiori passing the ball back up to Sai. Because they could be doing that to bait some of the players on the enemy team to coming to tackle or break up their link up. And then when they do that, they then make the long pass to Isagi for him to score. And the whole time that all of that's happening, Hiori's kind of just running around talking shit about Isagi being like, you stupid fuck, you're leaving everything up to us. But obviously that's just Hiori being sadistic. Because the author also confirmed that Sai and Isagi was going to team up in the future as well. And I don't see the author confirming that and then leaving us for like 5 fucking years till the normal World Cup just for us to see it. Like, in hindsight, I guess it would be kind of funny if the author did that because he wasn't technically lying, but why would the author say that now in an interview kind of recently? Because if I was an author, for example, and somebody asked me, oh, are these two people going to team up in the future? And they wasn't going to team up for like 5 IRL years, I wouldn't have said anything. I would have said something like, oh, maybe in the future they'll team up. I wouldn't confirm that they are going to team up in the future. That's just me, though. That's just like my thoughts on that. Because even outside of Kaneshiro saying that, it seems like Sai's going to come back to Japan anyway. He's already interested in Isagi. There's a seat missing on the bus when they could have just drawn it a different way. Ego literally says he's not going to pick Nagi as for him, and then it cuts off before we can actually hear what he's going to say. Japan is confirmed to have a new Gen 11. And I know, Sai is the new Gen 11, and he could still be the new Gen 11 for Japan and then play for Spain. But considering that Spain already has a new Gen 11 on their team as well, are they going to have 2? Like, so far, we've seen it, so it's only 1 new Gen 11 per team. We've not seen 2 new Gen 11s on a team. Because with the rest of the flags confirming where the other new Gen 11s are from, we just assume they're going to play for that team. So why don't we do the same for Sai? Because if we're saying that Sai could be the new Gen 11 for Japan and then play for Spain, then the new Gen 11 for America could play for fucking Brazil. Because then we could just mix up every single team that all the new Gen 11s are on. So genuinely, I think that Sai is going to come back to play for Japan in the U20 World Cup, because then that would also kind of help Blue Lock play against all of these new Gen 11s. Because I obviously understand by the end of the series, or more towards the end of the series, the Blue Lock bunch are going to be on the new Gen 11 level, but right now they aren't. And I don't think the other new Gen 11s are going to be as easy to push over as Kaiser was. Because I actually think that Loki is also the new Gen 11 for France. Because with them saying that France has already stood out in the Neo-Egoist League, and with them having Charles and Loki, and Charles definitely wasn't confirmed to be a new Gen 11, I definitely think it's going to be Loki, because he's already on that world-class level anyway. He's literally already considered by the people in the fandom to be one of the best players in the entire verse. So then why are we denying him the new generation World 11? Because he would fit in there. I know that people are probably going to say he can't be a new Gen 11 because he was one of the masters in the Neo-Egoist League and he wasn't introduced as a new Gen 11. I can't lie, I think Loki's character is being set up to be the main villain of the U20 World Cup. I think he's going to be the new Gen 11 of France. I think it's going to be France and Blue Lock at the end. I think Sai's going to play for Japan. I actually think that Japan is going to win the U20 World Cup and beat Loki and then teach Loki fair. Because I know that everybody saw that theory of the covers and what the chains mean and the fact that Loki's was already broke, so he's already become the best that he can become. Or he's already uncovered his true self or whatever the fuck it meant. But I just think all of this is leading to the downfall that he's going to have in the U20 World Cup. Because we saw in the episode Nagi manga, he's really cocky when it comes to the other strikers. He's constantly looking down on other people. So I think Loki's going to be the main villain of the U20 World Cup, and then he's going to get beat, and they're going to teach him fear. But then kind of going back to if Japan's going to win the U20 World Cup or not, I think it's already been confirmed that they are. Because Suta said to Ego, win the U20 World Cup or you're fired. And so far, every time that Suta has given a request to Ego, Ego has beat or completed said challenge. He was going to shut Blue Lock down if they couldn't beat the Japan U20 team. Ego then beats the Japan U20 team. Suta then wanted to monetize the next phase of Blue Lock, and that's where the NEL came from. So with Suta saying to Ego, win the Japan U20 World Cup or you're fired, Ego's definitely going to do it. Because if Japan's going to lose the World Cup to anybody, I kind of want it to be Noah. Not because I don't want Isagi to be the best, just because that could then give us kind of a segue into the backstory of Ego and Noah. I also think it would be a good way to kind of gap out the wins to losses that Isagi's going to have. He wins the Neo Egoist League, he wins the U20 World Cup, and then loses the real World Cup. And we could get a time skip or something, or whatever, don't really care. But getting back to the point, I think if Japan's going to lose, it's not going to be in the U20 World Cup. It just doesn't seem like it would be. That was a really fucking long tangent. My bad, we're supposed to be talking about Sai. But yeah, getting back to Sai, I think it's kind of ridiculous to say that all of the other New Gen 11s are going to play at the country that their flag's next to, but we're saying that Sai is different, and Spain's all of a sudden just going to have two. Like, that just seems like overkill. If Spain actually does have two New Gen 11s on their team, they're obviously going to beat everybody else. Just because, imagine trying to play against a team when it's Don Lorenzo and fucking Kaiser, or even Sai and Kaiser, or not winning that fucking game. Because we don't even know the type of New Gen 11 that Spain has already. It could be some 6'7" huge muscly defender, so if they're paired up with a striker, obviously they're going to destroy everyone. But, I don't know, man, maybe it's just me. I think the flags definitely mean they're going to play for that country that they represent. But we're going to change the subject once again, because people have asked me, oh, what do you think Sai is? I think Sai is 1000% a talented learner. Because when we read out what Ego gives to us as an example of what a talented learner is, he says, but to present society that innovation is never something that geniuses can achieve on their own. Someone needs to discover the seed, comprehend its worth, and be able to communicate it to the world. And this is exactly what Sai did with Shido in that U20 game. At the time, nobody understood the thought process of Shido. They did call him weird. They said that he didn't make any sense. Because they couldn't make a chemical reaction with him. So that obviously means they think that he makes no sense. So then Sai sees that Shido is a genius. And then he comprehends Shido's playstyle and his worth and his value. And then he's able to communicate that value by giving Shido kind of difficult passes to evolve him off. And then that did kind of, to a degree, produce a new world standard for Isagi because it was a Reflex X Reflex goal that they scored first. Because Sai was boosting the feasibility that Shido had of actually scoring in that game, right? And with him helping Shido score the second time, he's helping the reproducibility of it. Because I would say, kind of to a degree, they are kind of Reflex X Reflex goals that Shido scores in the U20 game. I'm not too dead set on that take, I'm just like kind of trying to make this match Sai. Because the Reflex X Reflex goal does then become a world standard for Isagi because he tries it again in the Ubers game and then he does it again in the PXG game. I might do a follow-up video of this Sai yap just because I do kind of want to talk about the whole theory of him dying too. Which I don't necessarily agree it's right, but I think it's on the right path. Like, I think it's a little bit insane to say that Sai's going to drop dead just because his family said, look after your health when he's leaving for 4 years and he's precious with his time. I do think he is going to have a death that is kind of related to football. I think you've got a higher chance of Sai either getting an injury and not being able to recover from it, or he just completely gets his ego shattered. I do fuck with the whole Sai dying theory, I just don't think it's as literal as people are making it out to be. But I'm pretty sure that's everything I want to talk about with Sai for now, so thanks for indulging my bullshit as always, never stop updating your world's perspective, drink water, look after yourself, peace.